Hey guys, it's Cyrus of Chaos. I'm here with US Olympian Soren Thompson, and we're going to be watching this bout between Yuval Freilich from Israel and Bogdan Nikishin from the Ukraine in the top 8 bout from this year's European Championships in Dusseldorf, Germany. Yeah, I picked this one because I think Nikishin kind of has the same overarching game plan that you have, which is to kind of ignore as much as he can that isn't real and just put himself in a really good position to take advantage of the mistakes that his opponent is making. And he's really, really patient, has very good technique, is really strong on the blade. And I don't know much about Freilich, but I know that he was fencing really, really well this day, so...
European Championship. So I think he wins the blue then, right?
Yes, he does.
So, yeah. So, we know where the bout goes, I guess.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that, but I think that's fine. I mean, I think, you can leave that aside when you watch these, and there's still going to be interesting bouts. So, yeah, I know both of them a bit. I fenced with Nikishin a lot when he was younger and not as successful as he's been more recently. And then Freilich came along a little later, fencing a lot in team events and things, and I've always liked fencing him. I think we have a good matchup against him. But both excellent fencers, both very good fencers. So
wow, that angle was crazy.
That to me is a little surprising to see Nikishin come out so early.
Yeah, I agree.
I think normally he wears the person down and picks his spot a little bit. That feels a little forced off the bat. 20 seconds in, normally you might see that at 40 or 50, and he's really cooking the person more before he pulls the trigger. So maybe he's feeling a little, confident going into this bout. Feels like he can kind of force things a little more and be successful with it. But obviously it didn't phase Freilich at all. Freilich has excellent technique, and he controlled the blade all the way through. It didn't surprise him, but Nikishin still has like 3 or 4 chances at that. But Freilich controls the blade all the way through all of the remises, which is what gets him that touch, I think. You see, it's never just one thing with Nikishin. Like, he's very strong, as you said early on. See how, he gets the blade, he comes back strong on the blade, he tries to flick into the inside after the straight attack doesn't work. Freilich shuts them all down, which lets him get the remise at the end. But it's not just a simple parry repost, which you see at a high level. I mean, guys are going to fight you all the way to the very last second until the light's on. So, kind of a world-class version of getting hit. It's not just his first intention fails and he gets hit. He's got some stuff that he can pull out to save himself, or at least try.
Yeah, I like that.
It doesn't quite work.
Also, the angle that Freilich hit was amazing. Like, that's a really hard angle to hit from. Especially with your opponent
really
pushing like that.
Yeah, and he was smart to control the action, control his opponent rather than reach for the touch. A lot of people would get the first blade contact and just try to hit, but he stayed patient through the action until he had an advantage to make the touch.
Yeah, showing a lot of experience and a lot of
good way of performing that.
Yeah, a lot of experience and a lot of restraint on that touch.
And so here, I think maybe Nikishin feels that he went a little too early on the last one, and he's working a little more there.
Yeah.
And that's an unusual touch. I mean, they both kind of whiffed on some stuff that they wanted, and again, I think you see Nikishin being able to quickly move off of one intention and get into another. So he's trying to get six. He's really out of position on his footwork. They're both a little confused, I think, into how they got so close to each other with no blade contact, and they should be able to hit. But Nikishin's the one who comes up to a strong position on that high 6 and puts the point on. But it's great to see. I mean, he's looking for a 6 repost, can't find the blade contact, but he improvises very well out of a position that he didn't want to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even versus ahead is very different. Immediately he's going back. I mean, this is his comfort zone.
Yeah.
The pressure's on the other person. So you see how much he was doing in the touch before when he was behind 1-0, and now at 1-1, he's very comfortable back here, and I think he's not going to make the mistake he made on the first touch where he pops too early.
Went in, yeah,
But
yeah.
Freilich gives it right back to him. I mean, Freilich doesn't really force anything easy either, and a lot of people in this situation, I think, would try to just hit him. They would feel that, but instead he goes to his legs and gets him really back there and pins him down where he can't really do a lot. So a really smart move on Freilich's part with a lot of patience and a lot of hard work, particularly with the distance, to get him all the way back there with 1 foot on so he couldn't move, but not to choose a simple finish, but to actually do even a bit of a second intention finish where he uses the pressure of coming forward to pull the counterattack, and then he takes the blade and hits him. So yeah, a smart move all the way through a very long action.
I also am noticing that Nikishin is much better at keeping his, or maybe much more willing to keep his blade on the target. And as soon as he's done with a parry, he just like gets it right back to threatening. Whereas Freilich is more willing to have his blade out and threaten like different lines rather than just keeping it right in his face all the time.
Yeah, Nikishin is very good at getting to the high outside. So the stick, he'll go to the 6 line. If he doesn't get the blade, he'll just stay there really strong and make it a counterattack or something, which is like what we saw before. But he'll do that just consistently from a lot of different positions to try to just hold the strong line to be in. But before he did it, and Freilich was able to pull it out because he didn't have a lot of like distance options, and then he was able to kind of take it and hit him. But yeah, I think those are accurate observations for sure. Some of the tendencies these guys have. But yeah, I mean, you see Nikishin, he's just trying to threaten the target all the time. I mean, he's keeping his point right on that spot.
Right on the guard, yeah.
And doing simple actions, not particularly complex, but using really good distance.
Wow.
Yeah. So Freilich's patience is excellent here, going backward as well. I think he's showing a lot of different stuff, but not really committing too much. And he just is waiting for the commitment, the real action from Nikishin. And then he's executing very well. Obviously, you need a lot of good point control and so forth, but he does have excellent technique. He can definitely do those actions. He has a lot of confidence in being able to do that. So yeah, nice, interesting first period for sure.
Yeah.
I think both of the fencers feel the seriousness of the bout after the first touch. The first touch was the only one that didn't look really like
well
a
composed
good
or something.
version of an action from
Yeah.
these guys. Yeah, and the rest of them, they're just working super hard. They're very tenacious with their preparation and with the actions that they're doing. And that's why you have a very active first round, but only 4 touches scored. They spent a lot of time setting it up, and they were trying to put pressure and.
Yeah, and there were a lot of engagements besides just the ones that scored the touches. Like there were a lot of shots to the foot, to the short target, a lot of actions on the blade. It's just a lot of them didn't end up being actual touches.
Yeah, and I think you see that in épée a lot, where there's a lot of big effort on the preparation. It's not necessarily a failed attack. It's just real preparation. Are you going to get the response you want? And good fencers aren't always going to give that. So, you just prepare, and you put a ton of work and a ton of effort into getting maybe 1 out of 10, getting the response that you want, that you can build off of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at a lower level, fencers think that because they learned like a feint attack from their coach or something, all they have to do is feint and then they can attack. But doesn't work that way. You might have to feint a ton of times and really put a lot of effort into it to get one response you can deal with.
Yeah.
That's the tough preparation. And so here, Nikishin, he's definitely less comfortable from behind than ahead.
Yep.
He's still working hard, but, he's coming out. You just see him stuck in that position a little bit easily. And if there's one thing we've seen that's maybe consistent here is that he likes to wind up in that high outside six. And when he has sort of a better body position than his opponent, he hit the touch. That was his single light. When he's the one who's been moved around and he's a bit off balance and he's just kind of stuck in place, sticking his arm out, he's been hit every time. So a lot of it isn't the action, it's the situation where the action comes out. And here Freilich is winning the movement. And I think that's why he's dominating this match, at least in the beginning. And it's pretty much all been second intention too. He can move and he could do amazing, attacks and fleshes and stuff like that. But all of his movement is to set up second intention. And there he switches it up. So obviously he can do those kind of actions too. And smart move to maybe mix it up right there and go early. He's been taking so long, doing a lot of second intention. It looks to me like Nikishin is trying to squeeze the distance that much more so that he can't get away, and instead he just comes in with a really tight disengage.
Wow.
Okay.
Surprising.
Yeah, and so that's the first time we've seen a low line action. Again, I don't think he's going to bank on hitting that every time, but very surprising, I think, for us as viewers to see too. It's not an action that I would have, thought he was comfortable doing necessarily from having seen the action thus far.
Yeah.
So very surprising, and good to try that. Not a lot of risk on the short target, and he's really good, and he's jacking up the pressure on him early. He's not letting himself get pulled out quite to the same extent. He's just forcing these actions early, and he's getting more of a response. But again, here, I think he wins that. He goes to his six, but who's standing in place? Who's really surprised? It's Freilich in that position, and so. The touches, like in most bouts, are going to the person who's winning the movement, who's winning the distance. And in this case, he's able to surprise him, and Freilich is just sort of in this, kind of weaker duck position. He's definitely surprised. He's not maybe dominating the distance in the same way, receiving the actions the same way he was early. He feels a little bit more complacent on the last one than earlier on in the bout. And, and maybe he feels that too. Right away, he's going to a lot more movement, right? He's like, you gotta win with your legs and not stand still. So,
wow.
It's not surprising to see him change his tactics and just say, all right, let me just move this guy around a lot, take a lot of time, take a longer distance, and do it with the legs, because that's where my strength is.
Yeah,
so.
I like what Freilich's doing a lot.
Yeah, totally different look, and it's changing. The score stays the same, but the bout now has a different feel to it, and Nikishin's not able to just roll ahead. Interestingly, when it was tied before, Nikishin was happy going back, but he almost feels like he's fencing from behind in the score still, which is kind of interesting. I think that's a good thing for Freilich. But I think in general, the longer the touches go, the better. But there again, it's kind of interesting. Freilich was doing all of this movement, and he just looks like he relaxes a little bit there. He's not dominating the movement, and then he's just stuck in place, and boom, that gets hit. I think if we play, all of these 9 touches again, it's the person who's not really moving very well who gets hit on almost all of them. And I think that that's just a great lesson for high-level fencing. And it's not just in épée, but it's like when you win the movement, your chances of scoring the touch go way up.
Yeah, you're just putting yourself in a better position. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And when you get a little complacent and you're just, your reaction is not to control the distance correctly, but it's just to maybe hit the other person or do a simple response to a fake action or something like that, you're kind of just sitting there for them to hit. And I think we've seen that a little bit here. Back to the movement. I mean, that's just a nice little short target action. Can't really blame Nikishin too much to get hit on that. We haven't seen that action from Freilich yet either, and it's just a nice little action to the short target. So, I mean, what are you going to do about that, right? I mean, he's doing the action he wants. He does try to take 6, and I think that Freilich uses that against him. I mean, his tendency to 6. So Freilich said it slips off to the side and hits him around the hand and under. So yeah, his tendency, maybe he was a little lazy getting into that 6 as well, but it was a very nice touch from Freilich.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's a little bit like we were talking about before. The first one doesn't work
Always
out,
have a plan
but you can
B and
move
C.
back to other lines with strength. And that one he did. He went back into the inside with the flick. So he kind of yields into the inside and just stays really high and strong there. And he's definitely got an advantage with that. He's got height and he's got strength advantage. So if he keeps those things working in tandem, that's going to be good for him. That certainly worked out there.
Yeah, definitely.
And now, we're going to get into the third period here. Very close bout. And so it'll be interesting to see the tactics. I know that Nikishin is very comfortable going back, but that wasn't working so well for him. So he was having more success
putting a little pressure on,
jumping on Freilich and being very sharp on him, more of like 3/4 down the strip, but and more in the middle of the strip has been a better place for Nikishin here when he's able to do sharp actions and get a really strong response from Freilich and then get on the blade or finish hard. The long actions where Freilich is able to draw him all the way out to his end or push him all the way over to his end have been more for him. So it'll be interesting to see what these two guys try. If Nikishin tries to keep it more up-tempo and sharp and try to like rattle off those kind of actions, or if he tries to go to what's a little more comfortable, I think, for him, which is draw the action out. And if Freilich tries to just do a really long action with the footwork, I would think that that's what Freilich will try to do, is just really work a long time. But, let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, and what you were saying about him getting touches on either end of the strip could play into what you were saying before about the person who moves more gets the touch. And when he's able to push and pull Nikishin that much, his chances of getting the touch go way up.
Yeah, see, I think this is what Freilich wants. He wants to kind of pin him down there again. I think this is a better spot for Freilich to be in. It's interesting. I mean, it was a good action on his part. He did get what he wanted. He got the other guy to pop. He got Nikishin to pop a little early. That's like 20 seconds in. That's not much time. Nikishin doesn't normally do that, but he just got distracted on the disengage. That first disengage that he held and just followed all the way through. This one, he just
went a little too soon.
He wasn't really in the same, I think, intensity on it, so he didn't have it. But the distance was great, which is why he had the shot at it. The parry was good too. So interesting. Yeah, getting him all the way down there. Yeah, it's been better for him when he's been hitting Nikishin at that back line. And it's a very nice continuation action, but Nikishin doesn't have a great response to it. He's kind of standing up, trying to close the line, maybe make a double out of it, but he's definitely behind in the footwork on that one. And I think he's going back to kind of fighting him in the middle. He doesn't want to be controlled like that and get stuck like that. He wants a little bit of space to threaten in more. And that's, okay. So I think Freilich went to an action similar to the last one, very similar, that kind of high feint and then trying to slip around the 6 to the side. But he didn't do it at the right spot, and Nikishin had the distance to absorb it and counterattack. So sometimes it's, again, not about the action, it's about how you set it up and the position you put the other person in. So Nikishin's very comfortable at that part of the strip to pull more distance and to really be in the spot that he wants to be in. Clearly, when his back foot is off the line, he's not as good on it. And that's interesting there, even getting him back towards the 2-meter line. He's not moving, he's elevating, trying to reach for the hit. So we've seen 3 touches in a row that are almost the same thing. 2 have gone one way, one's gone the other way. And again, it's where the person's more comfortable, I think.
And I think this one is also a little different because you were saying that when Nikishin is put into a bad position, he has like a plan B or a plan C. But this time, it looked like he just held his arm and tried to force his way through Freilich's strong 6 instead of actually going for a remise or something active like that.
I agree. And look where his hips are. His hips are all up. He's not strong on his legs. Yeah. The other ones, when he's able to get that second movement, he's down on his legs.
And in a good physical
position.
He's
able to drive through. So a lot of it follows the legs, and he's just in like an elevated, weak biomechanical position. It's really hard to do much from there. He's just trying to hold his balance, basically, so he can just kind of stand in place.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's, that's just a missed opportunity on Nikishin's part. I mean, we'll see how much that plays into the final here, but you've had a couple ones that were opportunities for both guys. This is definitely an opportunity for him. I think he gets what he wants. He actually gets him in, he gets the distance, and he just misses as he's spinning. So he controlled that touch pretty well, but I think Freilich stayed in a good position to fight in the infighting on that. It's easy to get out of position, but he stayed right on it. And that, for me, is just frustration on Nikishin's part from losing that touch. So he tries to do too much too early here. Instead of hunkering down and say, all right, let me work for this, he just kind of reaches kind of just a few seconds in, and he's, what is that, right? I mean, that's not really the distance he wants. That's not the action he wants. That's not getting on the blade the way he wants. And Freilich's got good, good technique for something like that. So it's an easy touch for him. And now, it looks like he's feeling the pressure a little bit to do a little bit too much too. I don't know. Maybe he's a little tired. It looks like it was kind of a tough bout. But
is that the first double we've seen?
First double, yeah, it might have been, yeah. It just doesn't look his absolute sharpest, but yeah, I think he's just trying to do some stuff, get some singles. That's a nice touch.
He's still being really aggressive.
Freilich went too early.
Yeah.
I think Freilich went too early, and it looked a little bit like he was just wanting that easier one, and so he just kind of moved in early rather than cooking him on the distance there.
And putting the work in, which is getting him his touches.
Yeah, I think that if he could have that one back, he'd put a little bit more work into it and not let a simple single intention action like that get close enough to him to hit.
Ooh.
But now look at him, like, he feels that, right? I mean, he's back on his legs. He doesn't want to give up the easy ones for sure. And, again, really nice distance and parry from Freilich, but Nikishin's strength and ability to absorb that blade contact and stay through it prevent him from getting hit. So he's able to kind of parry the parry and avoid getting hit too.
Yeah.
As soon as he feels his opponent's blade contact, he's just like crashing into that. And it's rare that people have a good feel for that. Usually they just learn when you get the blade, you hit the guy, you parry, then you repost. But you're not necessarily used to having the person just come back so strong into you. But these guys are fighters. That's what they do. They're not going to let you have anything easy, even if they make a mistake.
Right. Always have a plan B and a plan C.
Yeah.
Again to the high outside line.
Again, just that and just simple and early. It's one touch. I just don't think that that's necessarily how he wants to do it either. It wasn't very surprising. But Freilich's staying very calm, and he's controlling this really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he makes it look really easy. He's very good at that, taking like a last-minute blade action. So he's very comfortable with that. But I think Nikishin is just earlier than he wants to go a little bit, not like the most surprising action. And yeah, he looks really uncomfortable here, trying to push from behind. And Freilich looks great. Like, he's doing everything he wants to do. Distance-wise, he's far enough away. He's not going to get hit with short target thing. He's getting him stuck in that sixth position, which he's hit probably the majority of his touches with, and he's just flowing right into like a little getaway go with that sixth press repost, which has been his kind of bread and butter throughout this bout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and similar. I mean, Nikishin just looks pretty uncomfortable having to force actions without a lot of time. He's trying to work through the short target, but Freilich learned off that other one, I think, to stay a little farther away, and then to receive that action, get him stuck, and then he can kind of pop in with whatever he wants after that. So yeah, he's just pressing, and then when he gets a little more stuck, he can finish him. So let's see if Nikishin can dig deep and make it interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, you see like his fight when he's parried. I mean, it's not the action he wants. His first intention gets busted by Freilich's blade contact, but he's able to turn it into a double. He's very tenacious, and even when he gets parried, it doesn't matter. He's so strong on it, and he forces it. He's very physical coming in. So he almost turned that touch that should have been against him into his own signal, but Freilich has really nice technique to get the point on the target quickly and make it a double.
Another high six action.
There, I think, a little flick in. Freilich's not really on his legs quite as much here, right? I think he's kind of assuming the bout will be over soon, and it gives Nikishin a little bit of an opportunity to just do something simple. And I think we'll see Freilich try to be on his legs here. I don't think he's going to want to give up very much. Yeah, he's back to more movement. Fighting him all the way, taking a lot of time. Maybe a little complacent there again. I mean, he knows there's not a lot of time, but still, he didn't present a lot of danger there. But he's definitely more movement, wanted to draw him out more and not getting hit too early on. I think
And with 9 seconds left, he's going to really have to hustle now.
Yeah, for him, you know, he's not like a flesh off the line kind of guy like some people are. He sets up his actions with, you know, shorter steps, a little bit slower forward. So yeah, he's going to have to get off the line and get on him. And I think here Freilich has this choice, right? He can either try to work his way back, take a lot of time off the clock, or kind of meet him in the middle. Okay, and there he is. So he tries to surprise him and meet him in the middle, not do the obvious decision.
Of going backwards.
But I think in this situation, you basically have those two choices. You know the guy is going to try to work you back, and you just get right on him, and that surprises them. Or you try to, you know, take 5-6 seconds off the clock and then make him hit you with 2 or 3 seconds. But yeah, so he chose the surprise in, which is, it worked.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. So yeah, good match. A lot of good fencing. Interesting things to see there. A few little momentum changes. And I think, looking back on it, like, Nikishin just gave up a string of kind of easier ones in the middle there that set him in a really bad position. And
yeah.
I think if he could do that over, he'd probably work those actions a little bit harder and not give them away quite as easily. And then we might have been down to like a one-touch situation or something like that instead of him having to rush down a few at the end. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the bout was really interesting because it wasn't a position where like one person's winning the whole time and the other person's fighting for it. Like in the beginning, Freilich was up by 3 touches, and then it was even. Then Nikishin was up, then it was even. Then Nikishin was up, then it was even. And finally, Freilich got up a little bit, and just like those different shifts make the bout a lot more interesting because each of them is put in a position where they're trying to do different things to either hold the lead or regain the lead or get the lead. Or it was just like very, very, very diverse tactically.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting bout because there's not a lot of true passivity here. Often you'll see fencers when it's tied, you know, they kind of they roll to more of a let's go one touch kind of situation.
But these guys were working to win the entire time, working to create an advantage over the opponent and also to sort of push whatever advantage they had. And I think that they both responded very well to what you were describing, the positions where they were behind, for example. You know, they dug really deep. And even though their opponent was in a position that was kind of comfortable for them, they kind of had what they wanted.
Yeah.
They were able to dig their way out of it, which isn't easy to do. So we saw a few examples of that here. It was interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely a great bout, and you know, it's really cool to see someone other than like the 4 top seeds in the top 4 of European championships. So, yeah.
That's epic.
a lot of variety out there. But yeah, Freilich had a great day there and showed off a lot of the good skills that he has fencing-wise. But you know, for all of his great technique and all of these nice little hand moves and how well he moves and all that with like advanced lunges and things like that. I mean, he won that bout because he fought the guy really hard.
Yeah.
And made his life really difficult, meaning his opponent fencing, he made it really hard for his opponent. And I think younger fencers, like Freilich, been successful since he was very young, but I think his transition to a better senior level fencer really reflects that. And when I see younger fencers not make the transition well, they can do all the moves, and they look similar to the way Freilich does, and they're impressive with their technique and so forth, but they don't pair that with that same kind of tenacity in setting up the action. They want to just go get the action because they've had success doing that at the younger age group. And the seniors like that. You know, they want people to try stuff against them, especially things that they may have seen a couple times in the bout already. So you see him mix it up, and even though he does the same action a few times, he puts in a ton of work to get that action to actually be successful for him. And he mixes up where he's doing it on the strip, whether it's forward or back, and more offensive or more defensive, and things like that. So that's what earns him the touches, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching these bets with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure thing.
sure thing. Good stuff.